chapter 7 and the law of diminishing marginal utility. So before we begin, I want to remind everybody, marginal in economics means extra, and for all you people out there to remember, utility is the usefulness and satisfaction you get from consuming a good or service. So this is the key thing that we're going to be talking about here is utility. And so with utility, we are going to talk about the characteristics. So the first characteristic of utility is that utility and usefulness is not synonymous. Now, while we talked about the usefulness and satisfaction, we're trying to talk more about pleasure than anything else. What enjoyment do you get from consuming that item? For example, all right, how cool would it be to own a Picasso? You know, you could have this be an eye and that be the nose and there's the mouth, whatever, okay? It'd be super cool to own a Picasso, but what use does it have other than being able to say, I own a Picasso? But being able to say I own a Picasso brings a lot of satisfaction to a lot of people. Second characteristic, utility is subjective. All right, so remember, subjective means open to interpretation. So when I talked about utility before, I asked you, well, how much utility do you get out of whatever the item was? And somebody could say 10, somebody could say 100, but what's it on a scale of? So utility is completely and totally open to your interpretation, whatever you want it to be. And the third and final characteristic of marginal or utility is that it is difficult to quantify. Right? I mean, how can we measure it? We can't. And because we can't measure it, all these good old economists create their own unit of measure called utils. So, how many utils do you get? Do you get oodles and oodles of utils? I hope so. So, when we look at utility, all right, we have to visualize it. So there's two types of utility. There is total utility, and then there is marginal utility. So let's graph it out. All right. So total utility. You have total utility on this axis, and you have the units that you get or that you purchase on this axis. Now the total utility curve will be going up, 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 and up, and up, and up, and up, and eventually it'll tail off even to the point that it goes back down. Marginal utility, on the other hand, all right, with that unit, it starts off really high, and then each time it keeps going lower and lower and lower and lower to the point where it is negative. So this is marginal utility, and this is once again is units. All right, this is showing you why a demand curve actually is downward sloping on top of it. So I want you to think about it this way. You know, on that bright sunny day that in the summer your mom and dad make you go out and mow the lawn. All right, there you are mowing the lawn. You got your little lawnmower going. You got your grass all smooth back here. You're cutting it over here. All right. Well, the first thing you usually do when you come home or you come in after mowing the lawn, you get a big old glass of lemonade. All right. You like that glass of lemonade. All right. And you chug that thing down fast. And then what do you do right away? You pour yourself another glass. But you don't chug it as fast. Why? You're not enjoying it as much. By the time you chug, but you finish that one pretty quick, and then you go for that third glass. This is when you start sipping it, and when you start walking, you can hear the lemonade sloshing around, and you don't drink it as fast. Why? Because even though your total utility was going up, it's got to the point where it's gone down. This is where your first utility was, and it comes down to the point where, excuse me, that you no longer want to consume it. So, with this, with utility, we now have the theory of consumer behavior. All right, how are people going to act? Well, with this, we assume first, people have a rational behavior. All right? We want to get the most for our money. We're not going to spend for the sake of spending. We're not going to buy the most expensive item just because it is the most expensive. We want the most for our money. Second characteristic, or second assumption, I should say. Preferences. We are going to buy what gives us the most satisfaction. Now, you could say, well, what if I buy it as a gift? I don't get any satisfaction out of that, but you do. You get the idea of giving a gift. You might buy something that you don't like. Believe me, you know, when you're going to buy stuff that you're like, why am I buying it? But somebody else really likes it. So it's their preference, and you prefer being nice to them. One of the biggest, most important items that we talk about is a budget constraint. This is probably the most important of the assumptions that you have here. All right, and with this, you're going to have a set of amount of money during the set amount of time that we talk about. And so we're always limited by the amount of money we have. And our final assumption are prices. And in this case, it's unaffected by the amount purchased. There's no such thing as buy one, get one. There's no such thing as if you buy 12, you pay price A. If you buy 50, you pay price B per item. No matter what, in this situation, all prices remain the same. So, with this, what we're talking about here, okay, we need to apply something called the utility maximizing rule. All right, so the wordy book answer, all right, we want to max our satisfaction. The consumer should allocate income so the last dollar spent yields the same marginal utility. All right, that's a long-winded definition to simply say we are going to buy the combination of goods that brings us the most utility. All right, so to look at this, all right, go to page 156 and look at table 7.1 of your textbook. All right, and on that table, there's many combinations that you can purchase within your budget constraint. But we want to find the most satisfaction. So what I need you to do right now is pause this little thing here and go read that item. Go read that page, go look at that table, read that section very quickly. Okay, so now I'm going to assume that you guys paused, and you're welcome back. So in order to see this, we get to do math. All right, and remember, we're talking about made up units. Once again, we bring in the idea of utils. And so our mathematical equation is the marginal utility that we get from A over the price of A must equal the marginal utility of B divided by the price of B. So you could simply, when it comes to this, if the marginal utility you get from A is 5 and the price is 5, all right, the marginal utility of B is 10 and the price is 10, 1 is equal to 1. Therefore, this has reached the utility maximizing rule. All right, it always has to be equal, not these numbers, because we could actually cross this one out and say 16 divided by 8 comes out to a nice even number, right? But 1 is not equal to 2. So this is the only way we will achieve maximum utility. So with this, with the maximum utility, you're going to have a number of assignments. And your first assignment is page 163, number 2, and page 165, numbers 4 and number 5. Now, these in the book always come up nice and easy and even for everybody to be able to figure out. They do the simple math and everything else. All right, so I'm just double checking here. 163 is the discussion question, and 165 are the only 4 and 5 on that page for you guys to know. On some future assignments though, all right, when you're trying to figure out the MU of A over the price of A equals to the MU of B over the price of B, all right, you might end up with 1 being equal to 0.95. You got that. For this situation, that's the closest we're going to get. All right, and with that, you got to figure out that you are within your budget constraint. Like I said, that is the key assumption. Now, one more thing that I want to include is this can go on forever. Over the price of C, over the price of D, and on and on and on. We can go on and on and on and on with that forever. So one of the questions in your book, you're going to actually have to decide between 4 items. And I will give you a little hint on one of those questions that you can have a remaining amount. So you can worry about that when you do that question. Okay, so fun little thing that I'm going to do on all of these videos. I am going to show you guys a cover song of the day. So our first cover song of the day is by a 90s band. This was out before you were born, and just because it was out before you were born, it means it's still good. All right, but Faith No More, they had a big hit called Epic, but then they had another cover song called Easy. And it was originally done by the Commodores. And I don't know if you guys know who the Commodores are, but they were a funk band. They are the band that did Brick House. I'm sure you guys have heard it before. But they were a soul funk band, Faith No More, early 90s hard rock metal band. Listen to it, enjoy it. And if you really enjoyed Faith No More's Easy, they got another cover song, War Pigs by Black Sabbath. All right, that's a bonus one of the day. Not going to get too many bonuses, but this is it. So, I hope you understood this. This will be posted and left up on the Haiku Power Learning page for you guys to follow along. And if you need to go over notes again, here they are. You can always email me if you have any questions. Once again, my email address is btishner@rbchs.com. Enjoy it, and let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.